Let's see, look at that one.
Oh, okay. It's on the menu. I'm afraid it's going to jiggle the picture.
That's make charge. That goes to the make charge. I'm a hermit.
So we do Airbnb rentals, and actually they just upgraded our instant they give us 0 days notice, so we have the facility to watch and Wi-Fi. Oh, it's so not so I can't and we came out and
Did I move it?
No. You did not. You did. I screwed up on setting it up.
I doubt it.
No, I appreciate it.
How's everything been? I remember you doing the real estate, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Pretty good. I never got into wholesaling though. That seems like a beast of a thing to do.
Just get good at finding deals. You find good deals when you find them.
Our customers, we're actually getting ready to do a few
so Myrtle Beach is very
and one of my
tourism
larger,
friendly, so obviously they have
larger customers,
and
Chandler County. So, I mean, I can give them a reference,
like
a reference, got a reference, whatever. I've got references, especially from the city.
The state was always paid by
Some people that carry slate.
by each unit, and it was an administrative nightmare. And they wanted a paper check. Yeah, so like, so Stan started being, they didn't have an online system for a while. Yeah. It's Horry County, sorry. But they had no paper check and or bill pay, and I'm like, I'm not doing bill pay since I get lost. So business doing paper checks, and so now Airbnb at the start of October, they pay all the taxes, so it's amazing. Like I'm really freed up right now. It's yes, it's like it's not quite the same. So the tax is the same, it's still paid by the tax.
I have no slides today. We're gonna wing it. Money is time.
It's less than if the guest and the owner pay it.
Good evening.
Good evening. Obviously, somebody's off their meds.
Good evening.
That's a preview of why they do not let me do this often. Well, actually, I say good evening because most of the time when you say good morning or good afternoon to somebody during that time period, what do? We ignore them. So when somebody says something that is different, automatically I get your attention and look at how quiet the room got. Because y'all thinking I'm crazy. Well, that's a given. But anyway, we have no slides today. Right now, anyway, for the 1 million cup part. But I'm going to say welcome to 1 million cups. The Kaufman Foundation sponsors this out of Kansas City. What we are is an entrepreneurial community that gets together to talk about the entrepreneurial journey. Not pitch, not sell. Talk about the journey. Because I guess some brilliant person, and I do not say that lacking because this is a brilliant idea, some brilliant person in Kansas City at 1 Million Cups realized what entrepreneurs need sometimes is to know they're not alone on that journey. That some of the things they go through and encounter, when you're stuck in it, you think you're the only one getting beat up and you're juggling all them balls. But in this room, guess what? We all don't know what we don't know. And some of us know some stuff and some of us know something else. So this is an opportunity for us to come together, talk about that journey, share questions and comments, and get everybody going. And ta-da, Tara's here. So I'm butchering this, but I'm going to keep on going.
Doing great.
We will possibly, I don't know, I don't want to even rush. We don't even need the slides, Tara. Don't worry about the setup slides.
Did you set up the click in, the announce?
Nah, just let's get, well, we do need, I mean, we do it afterwards. So you don't have to, because we're all us organizers are volunteers. So we're trying to pull this off. This room once was up to about 100 people. And we're trying to get back to that because when it was bigger, we were one of the biggest communities in the country. We were also, but more importantly, we were one of the better communities in the country in helping each other, in supporting each other, in just coaching and mentoring and all of those things. And having seen it that way, I have been doing this for, well, where's Bob? About 13 years? So every Wednesday for 13 years, except for COVID, some of us have been coming to this. Ain't no money in it, folks. But it's seeing us grow. So we'll have a presentation today from, help me, Tara, I don't have the...
Nell Fuller and Julie Fuller.
Yes, sir.
Tuttle, I'm sorry.
Good, I didn't butcher her name because I didn't say it. But what we ask of the room is that your attention is focused on the speakers. What we ask of the speakers is that their attention is focused on their journey and how they got here and what's going on. And then we have a Q&A at the end. It's Q&A, it's advice and concerns. We are not cheerleaders. We're entrepreneurs sharing what we know. And I want to code it around that because that means if you see something wrong, don't let them continue with it. The worst thing you can do is let somebody stand up here and see that they're making the same mistake you made. And because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, you don't say nothing. But guess what? If they go out of business, that hurts their feelings a lot more. So this room has to be protective of who's up here. And in being protective, sometimes I got we had 3 kids. I always forget my foster daughter. And when they walk towards the grill, I'm going to wrap it up real quick. But when one of them walked towards the grill, I didn't go, oh, baby, the grill's at 800 degrees, and if you burn yourself, a 3-year-old don't know that. I stepped between them and the fire. And that's what this room is. If you see something or hear something and you think they could be better or what, please engage and help. Do we have yours loaded up? Made with Love Cola. Made with Cola Love. A creative hospitality retail incubator. Ta-da. Come on up. Oh, do we have a clicker for it?
Can we present right here? You can if you like, sure. Go right ahead. We'll just present right here. You're comfortable with it. Okay. I'm Nell Fuller.
And I'm Julie Tuttle.
And we're Made with Cola Love. We're a creative hospitality retail incubator. And we essentially are building a community of entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs to support that journey using skill development, unwavering peer support, and also experiential learning. So essentially we do pop-ups in vacant commercial real estate spaces to not only revitalize the Columbia ecosystem, but also to support the entrepreneurial journey along the way.
And then just to give a little bit of backstory about how we got here, Nell and I individually have our own businesses and do completely different things.
And then about 3 years ago, we saw some things that we wanted to see happen in Columbia that wasn't happening, and we had some nervous energy that we wanted to get around. So we created a business called Cola Love that we really didn't know was a business at the time. And ultimately, we started doing pop-ups with entrepreneurs. So again, it was something that we want to see this. I have a restaurant space that was vacant at the time. We knew somebody that wanted to kind of do a pop-up. They weren't ready to do a full restaurant, but they wanted to kind of do something. And we're making this up as we went. And so we did a pop-up restaurant, and it was really, really well received and successful, and it was really fun. It was this very camp experience, as you guys can probably experience when you're doing a project with some folks. And so we felt like we had hit a chord with something, that there's lots of, similar to this group, and there's lots of incubation here in Columbia, really great thought and energy putting into that, but not as much on the creative hospitality and retail end. So we think we run along sidecar with a lot of great technology and high job seeking incubators here in Columbia to create a whole lifestyle and build out our community that way. So that's kind of what inspired us to do that. We did several other pop-ups with Cola Love throughout that year and the year after. Again, some of it was kind of restaurant, food, hospitality based, some of it was retail based. It was all working with folks that were really kind of emerging concepts that needed a platform. And we were like, okay, we can do the production part, we can market it, we can make it be a thing for 3 days, and then see if that launches you into something else or gets your feet wet and decides to move on. So with that, we said, okay, so we think we can take this into another direction. And so we built a nonprofit, which is made with Cola Love, which is the incubator itself. And what we do now is we just completed our first cohort, which was kind of a pilot figuring it out, so as you guys know, with 7 applicants that were all, again, emerging concepts or ideators in a creative hospitality, retail, or arts field. And we went through the program with them last year. They all had the opportunity to do a pop-up of their concept in a vacant commercial space. So this ties in with the existing commercial brokerage. It ties in with many of the spaces that we activated have been vacant for, years. So it kind of gets some more activity in there. Again, we feel like the heart of this is economic development and building out communities in a forward-facing field. So that's kind of how Cola Love has evolved into kind of having a second branch of Made with Cola Love, with this cohort of, again, emerging entrepreneurs and this kind of other field of vision in terms of lifestyle and having a whole life here in Columbia. And that's kind of where we are right now.
Yeah. So, as Julie said, we are really passionate about sustainable cities and vibrant cities, and as you can hear with Cola Love, we love the city of Columbia, and we know how much talent already exists in our city. And so as we're bringing in new businesses to our city to occupy some of these vacant spaces, we don't want to forget about all of the talent that already exists here in the city. So we're supporting them with this experiential learning component, along with your standard incubator style programming. So one of the big parts of what we do is connections. So we not only want to connect our entrepreneurs with the services that they need to grow and thrive, but we also want to connect them with residents and people visiting the city and talent and creativity. And so the connections piece is a really big part of it. So all of our activations are about 1 month long. The entrepreneur occupies a vacant commercial real estate space and pops their business up. And within that space, they do pop-ups within the pop-up. So they host different community events to get people into their space and experience their concept in a different way. A lot of these folks have been at the market, Soda City Market, or they sell online, or the concept is completely emerging and they haven't done any of that yet and just want to test and see if their concept has any traction. Another cool piece about the connections is what we saw after our pilot year is a lot of the entrepreneurs not only collaborated with other entrepreneurs in that ecosystem of Made with Cola Love, but they also collaborated with a lot of local businesses to keep their concepts going. So none of them actually went into a brick and mortar space after their pop-up, but they all continued on their concepts by collaborating with other artists and entrepreneurs and business owners locally to keep their concepts going.
And really the goal isn't necessarily with the spaces, isn't necessarily to get them into a brick and mortar. That's not really what it is. The goal is to have that experience so that they can help make decisions about their business going forward. And often it's the first time they've had a forward-facing, public-facing experience with their business. And there's a lot, as we all know, there's a lot of learning inside that. So now you've put all of your ideas out there for folks, and sometimes there's critique, sometimes it's not all the way vetted, sometimes it's not all the way polished, and there's a whole experience around that. And really that's the goal, is saying, hey, this is where you are, this is what you've learned in this experience with your pop-up, and then what does that mean for your business going forward? Is it something that maybe you should tailor? Maybe there's something that did really well and that's where you should focus on, or maybe there's something that's maybe it's all online now, maybe that sort of thing. It's also it's to give them that experience, because I think a lot of people have dreams, and that's what we want. We want people to dream and continue, but we also don't want people, to your point earlier, to leverage all their assets and money and sign leases and do things and lose it all without having the proper kind of, primed moment to be able to do that. So that's really the goal here, is to kind of have those hard conversations and say, yes, we get it, we want this, but there's a little bit more that you need to do, or maybe this track goes a completely different direction. Without that forward-facing learning, you're not necessarily getting that when you're in your own echo chamber for a little bit. So it's very similar to what you guys are doing here in terms of making it a safe space to test things, making it a safe space to pitch things, making it a safe space to interact with others and get some real world experience and feedback so that you can leverage your business in the right direction.
So in addition to that entrepreneurial component, the revitalization component is really big for us. We both worked in the commercial real estate field in one way, shape, or form. And all of the vacant commercial real estate that we see around the city can be depressing. And we see it as untapped potential for how we can revitalize our city and support entrepreneurs at the same time. So as we mentioned, we worked with commercial brokers in the city to identify vacant spaces that would be good for a pop-up. And we were able to work with 6 different commercial real estate companies and brokers to be able to support the 6 entrepreneurs, 7 entrepreneurs in 6 locations around the city.
Which was interesting, because this was a concept, this has been done in San Francisco, is kind of what we modeled this after. San Francisco has a program called Vacant to Vibrant, and they're doing a very similar thing, and we said, we could kind of modify that and make it happen here. But it's pretty progressive for the commercial brokerage company. We were like, hey, so we're going to use this space. We're going to pay you. We have grant money to be able to offer funds for however you want to use it, for your utilities for that month. We'd love for you to take the sign down that's been up here for 3 years and kind of fading, and maybe refresh that, use the money for that. Clean it up. It needs a coat of paint. Nobody's been in here. The water heater's busted. There's some stale activity in these commercial spaces, and we learned a lot through that process. That a lot of this stuff isn't necessarily getting leased. It's not being maintained. It's not being activated. And you know how real estate is. People want to jump and go to the next thing, the brand new thing, the new redevelopment, that sort of thing. And a lot of these little spaces get skipped, and they're really in places that are more walkable. They're closer to communities. They really have a lot of potential, but they need a little love. And that's what our goal is to go in, activate it with our activator, and give people a vision for what it could be, and maybe get more engagement around it to maybe get it leased more permanently to someone else. So that's a big component of it as well.
So we had our year 1 cohort that we used as a pilot year. We feel like it's really important to co-create some of these programs with the entrepreneurs that they're serving. So we were able to learn a lot from this first year with pop-ups. We were able to learn from the entrepreneurs that did the pop-up, what was working for them, what wasn't. We learned from the commercial brokers about what it takes to lease those properties and some of the limitations and opportunities that exist within vacant commercial real estate space. So the 2 components, we have the incubator, and for the incubator this year we did, we had a number of different topics around marketing, accounting, business development, entrepreneurial mindset, to help the entrepreneurs build their businesses to whatever their next level might be. Some of them were very emerging concepts that were just trying to determine if they wanted to continue existing, and then others had pretty well established businesses that they were trying to decide if a brick and mortar was next, or if there was another avenue that they wanted to take. We also worked with the University of South Carolina, their entrepreneur, I'm blanking on the name of it. The Faber Center for Entrepreneurship, and Casey Whitener did a business campus course with all of the entrepreneurs to work through their business concepts. The other part is the pop-up, so the commercial real estate activation. So we feel like this 2-part approach allows for not only learning, but then put what they've learned into practice in that experiential component. We also wanted to measure impact. So we are funded by the City of Columbia and the Knight Foundation through Central Carolina Community Foundation. And so as anyone knows that sends grants, it's really important to be able to show your impact. And so we have an evaluation component that we did with interviews and surveys and final reports to look at the impact of what we were doing around business sustainability and revitalization of the commercial spaces. And then to go through the pop-ups. So this next slides are just the pop-ups, our activators for year one that did our incubator. Okay. So this first one, Liberation is Lit. You guys might know some of these entrepreneurs. They're very well known in the community. They work really hard and they have incredible businesses. So for this one, Liberation is Lit is a bookseller that aims to spark collective action for liberation and community building among readers and book lovers by promoting stories from intersectional experiences. So Taylor did a pop-up on Rosewood Drive. Sorry. She had a pop-up on Rosewood Drive and a pop-up bookstore that also hosted a number of community events. We worked with Wilson Kibler to secure the space, and the pop-up was in May of 2024.
And one of the things we really tried to be thoughtful about, and again, it's hard because we're dealing with a lot of different moving parts and people, and inevitably it's all kind of a rush. A pop-up by nature is very dynamic and kind of like pop-up. So everything's kind of in this kind of hurry up and wait and then now go. But with some of these, we really wanted to try to be thoughtful and try to reach as many of the different city neighborhoods as we could. So I think we got really close to that. I think we maybe had 2 around Main Street, but we really tried to get all those different neighborhoods in those districts involved just to get as many folks in the matrix as we could to understand kind of what this initiative is and what the exposure means for these different activators.
Next up, we had Victoria Reichard's studio, and she did an art activation in her space in the Vista. We partnered with Colliers to secure the space, and we really lucked out with a lot of these. We found the perfect studio with tons of natural light. It had overhead lights, tons of windows, and so she was able to create this interactive art studio. She hosted painting classes and some art therapy classes, and then she also worked during her month to build an interactive kind of engaging art experience for her final show. Psyche. So Psyche is a production company and creative agency. They do marketing and support. They're a professor at Benedict and USC in the film and production realm. And so they created this really cool shop off of North Main with Case and Development, helped us put that space together. And they did shops around marketing and video production and helped to create some videos for social media for other entrepreneurs. And they also did a space where they collaborated with a lot of other artists and entrepreneurs to offer different art, t-shirts, music production. They had a whole collection of cassette tapes that they recorded of local Columbia artists. So this was a really multifaceted pop-up that not only used his own company that he was trying to grow, but also collaborated with other entrepreneurs to give them a space to grow as well.
And sidebar, they are opening for Method Man when Method Man comes to the township this year.
Last week.
Or last week?
They opened, yeah.
That was it? Yeah.
Cosmic Flower. So we worked with Trinity Partners to secure this space. It's the old One Columbia space on Taylor Street. And she did a really cool vintage and handmade jewelry shop. She's been at Soda City for a long time and does a lot of craft markets with her homemade jewelry. And so this was her first opportunity to have kind of a full-time brick and mortar space where she showcased all of her vintage stuff along with her handmade jewelry. Library Record Shop. He's another local entrepreneur that has done pop-ups at different markets and different events. He does some really cool listening parties, kind of like Tiny Desk series type stuff, along with working with other vinyl collectors to grow his collection. And so he actually partnered with Nori and VHS, and they were both in a space at 5 Points. And they worked really well together because Elijah had his record collection, and Nori of VHS had a really cool vintage collection with video cassettes, clothing, posters, and they are a DJ. And so they were able to do a lot of different listening parties collaborating with Library Record Shop to spin vinyl and also showcase their vintage collection and art form. Dorska Pasta Co. So this was our last one. We partnered with LTCHS Management and for a location on Main Street in between Lula, Drake, and Hendricks. So Pierce has done a full-scale restaurant pop-up with Cola Love in the past, where we had 3 nights and a sit-down dinner. It was actually last year? 2 years ago, yeah. Valentine's Day. And this was a particular challenge. As we mentioned, a lot of the commercial spaces aren't outfitted to support new businesses. A lot of them are kind of run down, they don't have the equipment in them, and so to find a pop-up space for a food business presented a lot of different challenges around the health department and licensing, and that's been something we've been wanting to support, but have had a hard time finding any commercial spaces that are kind of fit to do food. So what he came up with was a pop-up pasta shop. It was kind of a fake store, like what would a pasta shop look like if it was on Main Street? So we had, he did some demos on First Thursday of himself making pasta. We had pasta in the windows and wine and food. And so everyone that walked by could see what would happen if we revitalized that space into a pasta shop. So we had to get creative with that one. We've gotten some fun media along the way. Cola Today, Post and Courier, Free Times, that highlighted the different entrepreneurs that we supported through Made with Cola Love. And then finally, we're open for applications for the 2025 year. So madewithcolalove.org, you can find the application for 2025, and we're looking for entrepreneurs. If you're interested, or you know an entrepreneur that's interested and kind of ready to take that next step and try a month-long pop-up of their business concept alongside the Incubator. That's all we got. Anything for the ladies? Okay, we have hands.
You mentioned that your funding is from grants and whatnot. Are your services free to entrepreneurs then? Or?
Yeah, so because of the grant, we offer the activator a grant and then the building owner a grant. So the grant that the building owner gets, as Julie mentioned, can go towards cleaning up the space a little bit, utilities, they have to have the utilities on, water and electricity, and then the grant to the activator is to help fund their pop-up and to also help fund the sustainability of their business. So a lot of the entrepreneurs added new services into their existing businesses, whether it was printing postcards or trying to think what else they did.
Yeah, like a lot of it was, so again, a lot of what we have is art, creative, hospitality, retail, forward, or food, right? And that's kind of what we're designed to help support. And so this could be for like new equipment, like for Pierce, I think he bought several different new pasta, like an extruder, so that he could actually make pasta faster. Again, it's only going as fast as this one person can do it. It's all of us understand that. So there were some things that they were adding to their portfolio or their inventory to be able to be more efficient. Kimber, she's an artist, and she kind of had a thing where, well, I can wholesale these art prints or greeting cards, but if I can print them in-house, I could do that a lot more streamlined, and I'm not printing one-offs. I can have this, I can have an inventory that I could sell in a wholesale direction in addition to what I'm doing already. And so a lot of it went to that in terms of sustaining the rest of their business.
I'm a little slow. So, okay, so you help entrepreneurs get funding, grants, that sort of thing?
So we are providing the grants. So we're funded by grants, and we deploy those grants to our activators that are part of the cohorts for these kind of specific functions. Yes.
Do you have a question?
Well, I just wanted to say it's fascinating giving entrepreneurs the chance to practice having a brick and mortar. I really find that fascinating.
It is practice, like it is. I mean, and I think that again, the journey. And I do think that there's probably a lot of alignment with what you guys are doing here, and that's probably something that when we get our next cohort up and going, is encouraging them to come and be a part of this collective as well, because I do think that journey is so much such a part of it, and it's really understated to be like, I just need to know that there's other people doing this with me or having a version of the same experience, because it's a super emotional journey, particularly when we've learned in the 30-day window that these folks are doing this. I mean, it's all eyes on you. It's very this. It's intense. You got to be there. You got to run the shop. You got to do all these things, and it's a lot, right? Like, so in addition to your regular life and whatever that entails, so it is a very emotional journey, and it is something that feels like practice and want to kind of get the kinks out of things. And we're there for some support in terms of the production and making sure things are thought through and making sure that it's getting the right visibility to the public. But it's a very emotional journey for these entrepreneurs because it's the first time that a lot of these ideas have been conceptualized in a way that the public can come in and touch, and that can be a very vulnerable position. But it's an integral part of the practice of doing your business and learning where it takes you next. Go ahead.
I have two questions. So my first question is, if I'm an entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur and I have just an idea, could I join the next cohort, or do I have to already be established with my business and products and all that?
Sure. I think having an idea, I would encourage you to apply. The application kind of gives some direction as to kind of what would you do with that idea. If you had this bit, what would that turn into? So it needs to be something that does have a little bit of structure around it. But we found that, again, we were doing this pilot project, so we didn't know what kind of applications we would get last time, and we kind of know how this is going to evolve at some point. But we're still very new, and it's still ideation a little bit for us too, kind of building out this concept. So we had folks at all different, to Nell's point earlier, kind of stages of their development. It's like, I have this idea, or it's a hobby of mine, or it's a business that I do 2 days a week, or on the weekends, or it's my full-time job. And it was kind of that broad spectrum of folks. And so it certainly would encourage anybody that has an idea that could maybe turn into something else to apply and see if that's something that makes sense for the cohort. But yeah, it can definitely be that way.
And then my second question was, is there any type of I guess, idea or something that would not align with this? Like, what exactly type of ideas or careers are you guys looking for, as far as?
Yeah. Again, we have a creative approach to this, which can mean lots of different things. But we really do think that there's probably already, if it's super kind of tech or tech oriented, there's already opportunities for that through other incubator programs here in Columbia. There's and we really don't want to cross paths there. We really think we're kind of a sidecar in the lifestyle area of business and what that means for a resident of Columbia. So we really lean towards creative art, food, and any kind of food elements, and then hospitality. So any kind of events or hotel, something that felt like something that would be found in the hospitality world. That's really where our focus is, and we let tech folks and stuff that's really streamlined business to business, that sort of thing, live inside these other incubator opportunities.
Is your focus primarily here at Columbia or Richland County? And for those that may be outside of that area, is there a way that you can let them kind of peek in? Because you're here, but there are a lot of audiences out there that are really probably interested in this, not necessarily in this area, but is there a way they can peek in and see, okay, well maybe this is something we can do here, and maybe you can help us get started in Lexington County or something.
I love that. I think that's something that we really want to be, we're Coal of Love, it's in the name, we really want to make sure that that's where our focus is. And really thinks that again, Nell's earlier point, like the talent that's already in Columbia, there's a lot of folks in the economic development worlds with the city and the county that's been bringing outside folks into our area, which is good and great, but not a whole component of the ecosystem. We think we really want to focus on ground up stuff or emerging talent that's already here so that we can keep a locality and culture really real, and really feel like that's important to the ecosystem and environment of economic development. So we're really focused on the Columbia, city of Columbia specifically, but I think it's a fantastic, I love that we have some folks that they can come and peek in, to your point, or they can kind of come and chat or come and participate in some of our peer sessions, that sort of thing. That would be great, because I do think it's something that can be kind of stamped out, although it does need to feel pretty local and kind of localized wherever that means.
Question right there. Okay, I work with commercial real estate as well, and congratulations on having a joint venture with them. That's really good for what you created. My question over here is the time frame. Say you have a pop-up, you have a business, and it's inserted into a location that was just going to waste on that one. But after they have a month of success, 2 months success, is the owner of the property, are they seeking to get a 12 months, 24 months, 5-year lease? If so, how's that, and how far do you work with providing the funding necessary to pay for those months?
Yeah, so we've been able to work with the brokers to just do 1 month. So we give them a grant for 1 month.
Okay.
And we've been able to show our value with that. Some of our value pitch to the commercial brokers is that it's activating and revitalizing a space that is otherwise going to waste. And so you can kind of, it gives people that are looking for commercial spaces an idea of what could go there. So it's good advertising for the commercial brokers. It's like, here's your space and here it is activated and not just empty and with the ceiling falling in and nobody inside. So we really feel like it does provide value to the commercial brokers to activate that space for them from a marketing perspective.
And then we haven't had it yet where somebody transitions into that space permanently. I imagine as we continue to evolve, that may happen. We've had, so each time we've had our activator that's been, a couple times we've had someone that's more interested, and so they've been able to sit down with that broker and say, these are what we require, these are kind of the financials that we would require, and all of these, as you know, it's the broker, all the building owners are different. Sometimes there's 12 building owners involved in this one building, and it gets a little bit, there's a lot of players involved, but we've been able to kind of tee up of, this is what it would require, and a lot of our activators aren't quite there yet, and to be able to have the financial backing or the financial history to be able to do something on their own. But I think as we evolve, we may get into that. And we've actually talked to the city a couple things about, hey, there might be a 2.0 version of this if somebody's done a nice job for 30 days and could do something for 3 months and kind of semi-permanent pop-up, that sort of thing. We'd like to evolve it that way so that folks that are doing well or just need a little bit more time to ideate around what this looks like, they have opportunities to do that. So we're looking to evolve in that direction.
Okay. And my final question is this. Based on knowing the city of Columbia, which owns a ton of real estate, that people have no idea that they own it. My question is, have y'all went to that degree of collaboration with them to insert the items that they claim they want to do into the vacant property that they own? Because I got a list of all the vacant properties that they own, and it's been vacant for a multitude of years.
I know, isn't it? It just, but that's a great idea, yeah.
Yeah, but to expand it to that level of reality based on the funding they already got set aside, how can an entrepreneur go for what you have and to work in conjunction with the program that's already been funded to do what you are already doing?
I think that's a great idea, and I think that we've been really gotten a lot of support from the city and a couple different departments within the city, because I do think this touches on a few different things, including the Office of Business Opportunities. We work closely with Aisha; she's fantastic. And she gets it, right? She's like, yeah, if these folks have another avenue to do this, or another avenue for, or another resource for that office to be able to kind of do that it only helps sustain those folks a little bit longer. Or
that's I'm getting right there.
So I think that's lovely. I think it would be fantastic if this dreaming kind of went into a more permanent thing, that maybe the city had a building that we could kind of put some, like a hall of pop-ups in or something like that on a more permanent scale. I think that would be amazing, and I do think we have had some conversations again about kind of what the evolution of this looks like outside of our cohort and our 30-day windows, and what that, because we see it, we feel like there's some potential with this program, and the city has been so supportive. That's a great idea to see what other real estate options that they have that aren't, it's not being used. It doesn't have any life in it. We would love to do that. It's sad.
Okay, thank you.
So my out of city of Columbia question was already asked. You said there's grant money for the property and to entrepreneur?
In this specific program, yes.
Okay, so if an entrepreneur is already in the works of purchasing a building, would the grant money be used towards that purchase?
So they could, we have to talk about that. We do have some parameters around the way that our grant money is deployed. But again, so the the money that goes towards the vacant space for the pop-up is kind of spoken for in that regard, but in terms of what the entrepreneur, the activator uses their money for, they could pitch like, hey, I'm going to use a part of it for this for the pop-up and this component of it to sustain my business further, and that might be a component of it. So again, we're creative thinkers. We think that a lot of our business problems can be solved with creative thinking, and so there's potential to kind of move some things around in there if that's something that's a component of the sustainability of their business.
How far are you booked out with your pop-up? Like applications now for when?
So the application now will be for this calendar year. So we have, our applications are out, I think, through the end of this week or beginning of next week. Yeah, and then we'll have an interview period. We'll select our cohorts, and then we'll do a lot of our front-end incubator work for a couple of months, and then towards the back end of this year will be the 30-day pop-ups kind of right in a row.
So you're advocating now for
so the applications will be through the end of this year. Next up.
Oh, she was first.
Okay.
Oh, I love the concept. I think it's amazing.
Okay.
I love it.
You say you had an incubator. Is that a physical location or is it a virtual location?
We've been kind of popping up wherever we can.
Okay, so the incubator's a pop-up.
I had a co-work space that we were meeting at that's now sold. So we won't have that co-work space any longer, but we have Julie being commercial real estate has some spaces that we can borrow for that too.
Okay, I'm gonna push back. I love what you were saying. I know Columbia, everybody loves Columbia, but Richland County has 2 properties that actually could do 3 or 4 pop-ups, and that's Old Columbia Place Mall and Sand Hill. Now those aren't falling apart, so it's a lot easier to get in and clean them up. They're in the county, they're not technically in the city, because I don't think Columbia Mall, the city limits don't extend to Park Lane. They stop at Fontaine. But that's a property, especially with the 911 facility going in there, there's gonna be foot traffic in there. Those kinds, and there are at least 12 commercial kitchens in there that are just sitting because the food courts just closed. They didn't go anywhere. So I understand that the idea of just Columbia proper, but Richland County is sitting on stuff that it's easier to clean up and get going. And imagine if you're in the mall with a pop-up, there can be 2 or 3 of them, and the traffic's got closed environment that you ain't burning up in the heat, walking from them, or freezing in the cold. There can be no more parking than what Columbia Mall has. Right. Nobody in the city has the parking that Columbia Mall has. That's free. So I would suggest kindly that you guys at least think about staying in the county. Now, your question was fair, but can I, as a county member, county person, come in and open and do a pop-up in the city?
So a couple of things, I love that, and do think there's a lot of opportunity in Richland County. Our funding comes from the city, so we're All right, but I think that there's an avenue for that. I think that's definitely part of it. It's a great idea, and there's lots of underused or adaptive reuse facilities that would be ideal for something like this. And I think that Richland County, we need to get in with Richland County, and they're obviously it's a very similar track to be able to provide some of that. I do think that's fantastic. So there's not really a mechanism. It's kind of interesting because there's kind of a donut hole. There's not really a way, if you're going to walk into the city offices and say, I want to do a pop-up, can I have a permit? Like, there's nothing like that. That doesn't exist. And so that's what we've kind of also talked to the city about. Is like, hey, it doesn't necessarily have to always be us. It seems like something that could be doing something, but there's no mechanism for anyone to do that. There's just no way. Like, the city doesn't have a way to do it. And you have to make sure these spaces are safe and have, they're bringing the public in and all that stuff. So it's an interesting kind of problem to solve because I think that from our standpoint, anybody that applies, you do not have to be within the city limits to apply to the application. And we had that. We had folks that were outside of, they were all Midlands based, but they were not necessarily city citizens and that sort of thing. We're just doing the pop-up inside the city limits for now until we have other avenues or other requirements around the funding for that.
We've got time for about 3 or 4 more questions, so anybody else, any
So, with my business being in Richland County, I still have to have a city license to do business in the city. So how does that work for people to have business in other locations, but they have to have city, like when they do a solar city now, they have to have a city license.
I don't know, it's a city question, I don't know.
Can they apply for a cohort, that's right, if they already have a city business license?
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, anyone from the village area can apply. You don't have to necessarily be doing business in the city or live in the city or have any of that. From our standpoint, you can apply. We're just gonna do the pop-up inside the city limits. Yeah.
How can someone be a part if they just wanna help? Like they wanna volunteer with the actual production of the pop-up?
Girl, we're gonna take your name down right now. No, that, we love that, and that's really something that we have a goal of.
Volunteer.
Girl, well, you don't know, but we do think there's a lot of opportunity, and it is a really fun time to be able to do this and kind of be kind of that back end support for either the stuff we're doing with Cola, which is a lot of the restaurant stuff, or with the cohort inside of with our activators. So that's something that we should probably grow and expand on in terms of having kind of this supporter of Cola Love and tagging in when it makes sense thing. So we, for real, we'll get your information before we leave, and thank you for saying that. We'll make it more accessible on our website as well, so that you have the opportunity to do it. Who else wants to do it?
No more volunteer. No.
You all write your own grants, and who does your grant work?
No, it's done it.
You do all grant work? You're really good, all right?
I mean, we got some funding, so.
Yeah, the Knight Foundation has been tremendous as well. You know, they're a national, international media organization that does a lot of stuff, and they through CCCF, which is a tremendous asset to our community, and we worked with them to kind of get that paired up, and we had some opportunities to speak with them. So it's very aligned with what their work is and how we're evolving here. So it's been nice.
One more question in the room? Well, thank you both. I've been a fan of Nell's for many years, and Julie, I'm a new fan of yours. So here's your
Last question.
Oh, never mind. Bob, you can ask it.
What can 1 million cups do for you?
If you know anybody that you think would be a solid applicant for our program, or they want to help or volunteer in any way, send them our way. Or a service provider that can do a lesson. Like we have the Incubator support, and we want to connect with mentorship and educational services and stuff like that. So.
And we really will, whenever we get our cohort kind of booked for this, we'll make sure that that's on their calendar to come here each week, because I do think kind of having this group and this support and just kind of stick with it, kind of attitude around it is really important. And it's really nice that you built. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I just want to get everybody to scan in before you bounce so you can get some attendance numbers. And then next week we'll have a learning session presented by Donna Davis. She's going to talk about the consistency in your business. She is also the new entrepreneur in residence at the Richland Library. So she's got double duty. Oh, yes, we'll have to talk to us.
I heard that name. Donna Davis. I heard it. You heard it too, then. I heard that name.
There's so much research. What are they doing? Now I don't know.
Whose dongle is this?
Rick's. I'll take it.
Okay, thank you.
There's a lot of property all over the place.
Yeah, I can do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, holy. Yeah, the roof ain't that much.
Revitalize that.
I'm not a huge fan of them.
Right now. Yeah.
All right, there it is. Everybody give it a quick scan. Thank you so much. And we have the room for about another 30 minutes, and then we are asked to leave. Okay, we're guests in the building, so yes, we are asked.
Oh, we have it till 12.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Oh, was this new?
Yeah. I talked to Rick. We talked to Rick about it. We can mingle for up till 12. He's reserved that until, unless somebody needs it for a meeting,
Okay,
then 10:30 will be where we have to leave.
okay, well,
So-
there you go. But mingling here,
Yes,
because there are
mingling is
businesses.
allowed.
Yes, there are other offices, so thank you, everybody.
Blown away, Lord, in those eyebrows.
Thank you.
We have photographs of each one done, but we haven't done any stuff. Yeah. Great. Cool. Do you have a card?
Right, it just not scary. So when we found on this building, we just right away. The floor was already
Holding stuff. Yeah, everything you need. Okay.
I got to congratulate you as well. A lot of people that was not familiar with the Knight Foundation.
Yeah.
They wasn't something that could definitely fund her project. Congratulations for that. But I will definitely want to talk to you in detail. Because I have something I think will come to fit. Do you have a card to
Everything is like I'm a realtor, so I do a little bit of everything. That's the part I have right now.
commercial real estate?
I just do residential. No, we don't have yeah. I used to own real estate. I had business everywhere I saw, and I just do residential.
I'm involved in that too, so I understand that word. But yeah, give us a call.
Okay, awesome.
I think that would be a perfect fit.
Great.
You know, to enhance what you're doing. Thank you. Appreciate
Or else we'll be out at 10:30.
My hustle is not swag. That's what I
We got an album of that project in Winsboro we were talking about. And I got both y'all's cards on my desk. I got your card on my desk. You got stacked up with his. So I'll give you a call and then I'll take the web and then I'll give you a call also. Give me a heads up about the call. So just see. Oh, thank you. Thanks. You're Emmanuel, right? Yes. I'll reach out and kind of get y'all all connected and see if there's some crossover that's been beneficial. But love y'all. Yeah, sure thing. Thank you. All right, good seeing you.
If I could, since both of you are standing in the same place, what do y'all do for commercial real estate? We do like network infrastructure, security cameras, access control, burglar alarms, and we typically work with like general contractors and stuff like that, but we also have customers that are commercial development companies and commercial real estate companies, and they bring us in before they even move the tenant. We did a law building in Charleston. There was a big skyscraper. We did one of the floors for a law office. The commercial real estate company brought us in to outfit that space for that law office before they actually moved in. So we do work some with commercial developers and commercial real estate. So
Yeah, that's okay. I'm in real estate development.
Okay, very good. Okay, yeah. CBRE is the one we work Rich and Charles. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we're a smaller machine shop. We do a lot of multifamily.
Yep.
But yeah, that's.
Well, we have some of our customers with garden style apartments. We put in like security cameras for them. We put in one of them. We did some wireless access points for them and stuff. It just kind of depends on what the space is.
Yeah.
We had one that was student housing. We put in wireless access for them. We put in security cameras for them. We put in speakers for a pool that they did. They set up like a whole like backyard patio around the pool, and we set up outdoor speakers for them and set up a whole sound system attached to a big screen that they had and all that stuff. So yeah, we're multifaceted for sure. So.
Great, I'll definitely pay for the card. I'll definitely keep it for next project.
No problem.
One of the things I do is commercial financing, real estate financing, and I also specialize in contract financing.
Yep.
If you have a lot of contractors come in, and they have an unforeseeable, they cannot prove it. I look at the value of the contract, and from that, based on the value of the contract, advance the money they need for the unforeseeable, and after it's completed, then we get our money back.
You might be somebody that we need to talk to. We're trying. So right now, as it stands, a lot of our stuff we require deposits up front to fund the hardware, fund at least some of the labor. But a lot of the customers that we have some larger customers that don't do that. So we have to fund the entire project from start to finish. And that, some of those projects can hurt my pocket. I'm like, really?
You're talking about multi-million-dollar contract.
Exactly. Well, I'm not that far into it yet. The largest contracts that I've had so far are about $380,000. The largest that I had. I'm not into the multi-millions yet, but I've had some expensive ones that were.
That area is called pretty much virtually untapped market.
Yeah.
So they either go here or someone go down.
Yeah.
But the main thing is we can get together and actually set up a long line of credit as well. So you can actually make that happen.
Yeah.
And see, a lot of people that do what you do, they leave that important component out.
Yep.
Because that's left out, you end up in chaos.
Well, and that's the reason. That's kind of the reason why I haven't jumped on some of these really, really large contracts is because I don't have, the capital to fund $500,000 worth of equipment. I don't have that capital. I don't have that kind of resource to tap into. So,
until now.
Well, now, until now. That's right. Until now. Now I can jump on those, and that'll be. You have a card?
Listen,
that'll be a huge help.
Let me give you one of my other cards because I also own a travel agency.
Okay. Give me both because me and my wife travel a lot. I own a camper. We kind of go everywhere. So.
I'm gonna have the other card with me. Contact me on that one there.
Okay. That works for me. I can do that. That's no problem.
Thank you, guys. It's very nice to meet you. I'll see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
That's one of the most important things about people in business who do special contractual work.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's satisfied what you do, but the funding mechanism is the one that hinders the success.
Yeah, since we're kind of mostly considered security and IT, and banks see those industries as high risk for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why, but they see us as high risk, and I'm like, we lock in a contract, we have a signed contract with the customer. If they don't abide by that contract, then we have avenues to take to ensure we get our funding. I mean, we can do contractors' liens and all that stuff.
Let me take it from the banker's aspect. They can't see it because they don't know the language and they don't know the industry.
That makes sense. That makes a whole lot of sense.
Now they may pretend that they know, but they don't know.
Yeah.
They look at the dollars, but sometimes the dollars, it does not make sense if you understand the total reality.
Exactly.
What actually is the security aspect of that.
Most of them, all they want to see is your monthly revenue. They want you to have that constant monthly revenue for 12 months. And I'm like, I'm contracting. I don't have that revenue for 12 months straight.
There you go.
We go through something called feast and famine. We have months where we're, my bank account's heavily inflated, and then we have months that my bank account is severely deflated. So, and banks struggle to understand that. They don't get that. They really don't. They just want to see that I'm making this much money every month for 12 months straight.
But I've been doing this for over 40 years.
Yep.
I've seen it come, seen it go, I've lost money, and I've been missing this area. It has been a phenomenal reality on there.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is when you're a survivor that has learned.
Yep.
Now it's time for you to
See, and that's I've learned that. I've learned. So whenever I first started in this business, you know, I was putting all my money into everything, and I was kind of just trying, you know. And I've learned throughout the years that okay.
So you wanted.
Well, now I have it down to a science. Now I know exactly what my slow months are. I have it down to a perfect science. I know exactly when we're going to slow down. I know from what customers we're going to slow down. I know every little facet of it. I know every bit of it. So now I know to watch for it, save for it, plan for it, and so now it's not so much of an issue. But back when I first started, it was a huge issue because I was like, wait a second. After Thanksgiving, nobody wants to install anything.
There's another component on that, but when we get together, we can share some things. And I have no problem sharing with you some reality. That probably is, but you may what's called overlook.
Yep, that works for me. Let's definitely do it for sure. Absolutely.
Another good question: what do you do in regards to this property that maybe is water purification system?
So we have like. I mean, we've done, just for instance, for like Bamberg County, they have a conferencing system. They can do presentations, but they can also do video conferencing with other. They talk to a whole bunch of other people. But we're actually, one of our big projects right now that we're looking at, they haven't gotten the funding for it, but that we're looking at, is they're looking at moving the Emergency Operations Center to a new building that we just cabled, camera, the whole 9 yards. They're looking at moving the Emergency Operations Center in there. So we're actually looking at building a media room for them. So, I mean, we're talking like cameras, monitors, like the whole 9 yards. But we install like presentation system.
You spoke to him?
No, sir. How you doing?
They talk about building a media room.
Yeah, we have Bamberg County is one of our larger customers, and they have what they're calling is their law enforcement center. We cabled up. Every wing is like a different department. There's the health department, there's the sheriff's office, social services, and we've cabled up social services and the sheriff's office. And for some reason, the state department or the health department thought they needed this really high-end cable, and they went with a national company who jacked things all the hell and back, and the county had to send us in to go fix it. But that's the nature of the beast. But they're actually.
I don't think I gave you a
manual.
Yes.
What do you do?
Few things. Okay, so we do